Man, the vibe in Edmonton is on fire right now, and it's not because of the cold snapping outside. We've got players shutting up critics, a coach opening up about changes nobody saw coming, and a bunch of behind-the-scenes stuff that could tilt the whole season for the Oilers. The confidence is finally back, but is it enough to turn this thing around for good? Buckle up, because today's twists are the kind that leave oil country catching its breath. You're not gonna believe what we've got lined up. So grab a seat, hit that like button, and let's get right into it. If there's one guy who decided to answer with his play instead of a microphone, it's Evan Bouchard. Early in the season, things were rough. Turnovers piling up, late reads in the D zone, no offense going, and a whole lot of impatience in the stands. People were saying he wasn't cut out to be a top pair guy, that the pressure was too much, that he was only good on the power play. Then November hit, the road trips got nasty, and that's when Bouchard flipped the script. Instead of hiding, he stepped up and started tilting games, even while running on fumes with a brutal stretch of 7 road games in 11 days, barely any practice time. Just recovery and quick reads on the fly. And that's what makes his turnaround so crazy. It didn't happen in some comfy streak of home games. It happened in turbulence. Remember how he opened the season with 0 points through 6 games? Nothing seemed to click, and to top it off, he finished October with a -9 in 12 games, a number that screams trouble even when you factor in context. If something went wrong in the D zone, fans pointed at him first. But November brought a different Bouchard. 11 points in 12 games, a +9 rating, and a presence at 5-on-5 that completely changes how the Oilers look with him out there. When he's on the ice, the team looks like a contender. When he's not, the drop-off is obvious. That's not fan bias. It's what's showing up on the scoreboard and in the chances created. If you want to understand the impact, look at the on-ice splits. With Bouchard at 5-on-5 this month, the Oilers own the puck. They shoot more, they attack with swagger, and look like a legit threat. Without him, the offense dips into numbers you'd expect from a team scratching at the bottom of the standings. The scoring chance rate with him out there ranks near the top of the league. Without him, it sinks to almost dead last. That's why even when fans chirp him for a bad turnover, the coaching staff keeps giving him heavy minutes. It's not preference, it's understanding that over 60 minutes he creates way more good than bad. And now that the rough luck is finally settling down, that truth is getting a lot clearer. That rough luck matters. In the first month, his numbers looked like a horror show, but a lot of that came from stuff he couldn't control. The Oilers were dominating expected goals with him out there, but the actual goals weren't there. The team was shooting tons, creating chances, doing everything right, but the puck wouldn't go in. On the other side, the goaltending behind him wasn't helping either. The save percentage with Bouchard on the ice was low, which made every individual mistake look 10 times worse. A mix of bad luck up front and shaky moments in net made a handful of rough nights look like a crisis. Now in November, with shooting numbers back to normal and the defense settling in, what's left is his real impact. And impact doesn't mean perfection, it means importance. Bouchard is always going to split the room. He tries stretch passes, aggressive flips, holds the puck that extra second to break a forecheck. When it goes bad, it's an odd man rush or a tap in, and that sticks in fans' memory. But nobody remembers the dozen clean exits, the perfect feeds through the neutral zone, the quiet plays that give McDavid and the boys space to fly. In October, he and Ekholm were giving up to many dangerous entries, but in November those numbers dropped, showing the pair tightened up their reads and timing. At the same time, the team cut down on rush chances against, which puts the goalie in a better spot and boosts the value of what Bouchard does night in and night out. This is where the fanbase comes in. Criticizing a brutal mistake is fair game. Nobody's pretending otherwise. But this is the price of having a high-volume defenseman who drives basically everything in transition. If he goes full safe mode, chipping pucks off the glass and avoiding risk, the Oilers lose what makes them dangerous in the first place. Speed through the neutral zone, vertical passes, wave after wave of attack. What we're seeing in November is the right balance. He's keeping that aggressive edge, but with fewer careless mistakes, sharper reads, and a confidence that spreads through the lineup. When he's dialed in, the offense flows, the power play hits a different level, and even the penalty kill feels the ripple effect from how he anticipates plays. So when the next mistake shows up, and it will, because guys who push the pace always make mistakes, the memory can't be just the turnover. It's the whole package. This November is exactly why Bouchard is essential, not optional. He's the kind of player who rides through slumps, takes heat from the fanbase, and finds a way to come back stronger. And while some folks out there keep underestimating him, the truth is simple. If the Oilers want to go far, they need this version of Bouchard, confident, productive, and ready to carry the load. And the wild part is today wasn't even the most surprising thing Oil Country heard, because the next story hits the team's structure and identity even harder. While we're still processing Bouchard's bounce back, the vibe in Edmonton got another shot of energy with a couple of faces the fanbase had been missing. Seeing Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Kasperi Kapanen back on the ice at the downtown community arena felt like an overtime winner for a lot of people. After a wave of injuries, any positive sign gets folks fired up. But when it's players who can reshape entire lines, the emotional and strategic impact is massive. Just having them in full practice, taking reps, rotating through drills tells you the team isn't throwing in the towel early. And the line combinations at practice were the kind that send fans into full imagination mode. Nugent-Hopkins taking turns on a line with Connor McDavid and Matt Savoie hints that the coaching staff still sees him, that versatile piece who can slide between elite support. And driving a second unit, Kapanen moving through the third line shows a depth boost that the Oilers missed when injuries piled up. He's not the flashiest name, but the speed, the forecheck pressure, and that sneaky shot in transition are exactly the ingredients that separate a good team from a dangerous one on the right night. But here comes the reality check. Everyone needs. Practicing is one thing, being fully ready for a heavy game against the Dallas Stars is another. Coach Chris Knoblauch played it safe and pulled the reins on any hype. Kapanen and Jake Wallman are already ruled out for that game. And even Nugent-Hopkins, who looked eager, isn't confirmed. He said himself he still needs to talk to the medical team before making the call, which shows the long-term approach at play. There's no point tossing him into a game just to pump the crowd if it risks a setback that costs weeks. And there's another factor. After Tuesday's game, the Oilers get 4 full days off before their next matchup. Those 4 days are gold. For a beat-up roster, it's like winning a mini training camp in the middle of the season. If they hold off a little longer on bringing Nugent-Hopkins and Kapanen back, the odds of them returning healthier, sharper, and confident go way up. Strategically, that window lets the staff test line tweaks, adjust systems, and reset the energy of a group that's been through an emotional grind, and it's mental too. A player who returns when he's fully set knows the team has his back. And that builds trust inside the room. That's what made Knoblauch's comments after practice so interesting. He shut down the idea that Edmonton's issues come from some big new system or radical change. He said the team is still using the same 5-on-5 structure from the past 2 seasons, the same framework that got them to back-to-back conference finals. That knocks out the easy narrative that some folks like to reach for. His message was clear: the system isn't the problem, execution, details. And decision-making inside a system that already works at a high level are what slipped. But a smart coach doesn't hide behind the past. Knoblauch admitted that after 20-plus games, you can't just wait and hope it fixes itself. He said they've already started tweaking things and didn't rule out deeper changes if the play doesn't improve. And here's where every hardcore Oilers fan perked up. He put a spotlight on limiting chances in the slot. Anyone who watches this team knows that when Edmonton gets burned, it usually comes from leaving too much space in the most dangerous area on the ice. Putting that priority front and center sends a message. Nobody's spot is guaranteed. If execution doesn't rise, he won't hesitate to shake things up. Lines, minutes, rotations, everything's on the table. For fans, it's a mix of relief and nerves. Relief because seeing key players back on the ice and a coach taking charge feels like the team's not drifting. Nerves because whenever you hear talk about adjustments and necessary changes, the speculation radar kicks in. Does this mean a big shakeup on defense? Someone losing their spot? A possible trade heating up, with practices turning into a bit of a Lav and Stars getting close to returning. It feels like the team is hitting a turning point, and Oilers fans know that feeling all too well. That moment where everything either falls apart or snaps together so tight that the team rips off a run and becomes impossible to stop. The return of Nugent-Hopkins and Kapanen, paired with Knobloch's willingness to adjust, could be the spark for the second scenario, but one misstep adds pressure and brings back debates about the roster, the salary cap, star usage, and possible trades, and it's in this controlled chaos, with tension everywhere, that the third story of the day lands, one that circles around. One of the most polarizing names on the roster and a familiar ghost that always seems to hover over this franchise, the goaltending and trade talk. When you talk about controlled chaos in Edmonton, there's always one name that pops up: Darnell Nurse. These past weeks brought another wave of frustration aimed at him. People questioning the contract, the role, wondering if it was time to move on. But once again, he answered the loudest way possible on the ice. With physical play, attitude, and big moments, he scored a crucial goal. He dropped the gloves when the team needed a spark. He led quietly in the D-zone, and that's where things get interesting. Sources close to the team cooled off the trade rumors around Nurse, saying this noise comes way more from impatience in the fan base than any real plan from the organization and in the locker room. That matters. Players know when the team has their back. That kind of support usually shows up in more consistent play, while the outside noise tries to push Nurse out the door. Everything points to him still being seen as a key piece inside the room. What we saw today goes way beyond a handful of headlines. It shows the Oilers are at a crucial point in their season. Bouchard's surge under pressure proves the skill and fight are still there. The return of vets like Nugent-Hopkins and Kapanen brings hope, but also a reminder that big decisions and adjustments are coming, just like Knobloch hinted. And the steady backing of Nurse, along with the talk around the goaltending position, shows the team is trying to find the right mix to make this season count. The real question now is whether this combination of talent, returns, and recalibration will be enough to push the Oilers back into the playoffs and maybe even higher. I want to hear what you think in the comments. Let's talk it out. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a moment. Oil Country needs you in this ride.